I find it so boring that I think Meghan Markle's really annoying. I think it's the most boring possible opinion to have at this stage. We have had so many columns and reviews about how annoying she is, and yet every time she opens her mouth, I'm so annoyed by her. She's so saccharine.
You're here with me today, and it's great to see you. In your day job, reviewing the TV, you've also been looking at a programme about Ukraine that was fronted by one Boris Johnson.
Yes, this is absolutely fascinating. Boris Johnson, documentary presenter, is a new turn of events for the man. And I was sort of a bit perplexed as to what I thought about this documentary. It's called Boris Johnson into Ukraine's kill zone, and he really does go pretty close to the front line. I mean, he is in some pretty terrifying situations. They would be terrifying for any of us. Boris Johnson is an incredibly famous man, a man really despised by Vladimir Putin. So this is quite a remarkable feat of bravery, maybe of stupidity as well. But it's quite an odd documentary as they go, because the minute he's interviewing all these sort of fascinating people who's living these remarkable lives, the minute you put Boris Johnson on screen, it's all about Boris Johnson, isn't it? Even the look of him, he looks so funny. You can't help but have this kind of sense of bathos when you look at this man with his sort of hair going every which way, and and he can't help himself from joking. They get into some safe house or other, and he's going, "Oh, should we go to the pub?" And you go, "Oh, this could have been such a good documentary," but then could it have been? Because no one else would have got that access. So it's a tricky one.
And he has been applauded for the way that from the very start he was prepared to support Zelensky, who's now on James, his fifth Prime Minister, I think. Is it something like that? So hang on, I think it would be, yes, Boris Johnson,
Rishi Sunak,
and then Liz Truss,
if you count that,
then Rishi Sunak, then Keir Starmer, now Andy Burnham.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very interested to know what part this documentary plays in Boris Johnson's plan for A, his political afterlife, or B, do we still think that there is a crazy part of Boris Johnson's brain, and I probably think this might be true, that thinks he can become Prime Minister again. He's made attempts to get, to sort of, he's put out feelers before about getting back into office, and I just wonder what he thinks he's doing. It's interesting that he has lain relatively low in public life since leaving office. He has this column in the Daily Mail. There was a mooted GB News show that never materialised. Does he think he's waited for public rage to die down? He's beginning to stick his head back above the parapet? Or is this, which I am probably sceptical of, a genuinely selfless attempt to, promote the sufferings of the people of Ukraine? I'm just interested in what you think, Charlotte. Do you think there's some kind of comeback going on? Or
I think it's a bit of both. I think Boris Johnson does care about Ukraine. I think he also is a quite a narcissistic man, and I think these two things happen to kind of coincide for him. And actually, it's not just Boris Johnson who has found that. A lot of UK prime ministers who have struggled at home have found that they can then go abroad and sort of be blessed by Zelensky and Keir Starmer. In the dying days of his premiership, he was there being blessed by Zelensky and by Macron. What he got given some lovely French award and stuff, and then he came back and we were all kind of yelling at him. So I think it is something that's very appealing for British prime ministers. Did we all see Andy Burnham has been to see Zelensky, and he went to see him wearing a sort of a black shirt like I'm wearing right now, black t-shirt, and he sort of looked like he dressed up as him. It was really embarrassing. I hated it.
Yes, at least Zelensky didn't turn up with a shirt and tie.
Yes,
so
that would
have been weird. Also, Charlotte, you've written about the Duchess of Sussex. If we're talking about people who don't really like to put themselves forward, she's appeared on MasterChef Australia, and here she is being interrupted by her husband, Prince Harry.
We've had a phone call to studio.
Hi, my love.
Good way.
Hi. My husband's here.
What's going on? Have I interrupted something important?
Well,
What did you make of it?
Oh, okay. MasterChef Australia, I should start by saying, if any of our listeners have not seen it, is quite the thing. It is not like MasterChef UK, which is this sort of, reasonably serious cooking competition. It is an insane, bombastic, mad affair. They have kind of strobe lights and a kind of supermarket sweep style thing where all the contestants have to grab all their food before running to their stations, and they have whooping crowds from the balcony. Someone managed to successfully cook a steak medium rare in this episode, episode, and there were people sort of cheering the steak from the balcony. It is mad, and it takes about 15 minutes for anyone to pick up a spoon in these things because there's so much nonsense, and it's all very sincere and very whoopy, and exactly the sort of environment where you would expect someone like the Duchess of Sussex to thrive. I personally would look like a mad, cynical English person in this context. So it is the right place for her. I find it so boring that I think Meghan Markle's really annoying. I think it's the most boring possible opinion to have at this stage. We have had so many columns and reviews about how annoying she is, and yet every time she opens her mouth, I'm so annoyed by her. She's so saccharine. And
is she a good cook, though?
Is she a good cook? Well, we sort of have no evidence. She would periodically be asked questions like, what is your favourite thing to cook at home? And she sort of wouldn't tell us. She would go off into lots of theoreticals. Oh, I like a mixture of savoury and spicy. Oh, I like lots of fresh produce. But she couldn't just be like, oh, I make spaghetti bolognese. So it's all a bit abstract and theoretical. I don't know if she's a good cook. She did like absolutely everyone's food, though. So that's something. But they did seem pretty decent chefs, so maybe that's not just her being a kind of love-in. Is it a problem with Meghan or a problem with me that I find her annoying? Is it that I'm just cynical and I like people to be a bit sarcastic and a bit grumpy, and the sort of Californian isn't everything wonderful thing just breaks me a little bit? That could be it. So maybe that's the more interesting take on why I find this woman so frustrating.
Do you have a thought on that, James?
Yeah, I do. I don't envy Charlotte her shift reviewing the Meghan TV show. In my job as a podcast critic, I've done a fair few Meghan podcasts, and I find her equally unbearable. I think this is just, she is an unbearable person. I don't think it says anything wrong about you, Charlotte. I think it just says that you are an adequate judge of human character. I think she is deeply narcissistic. I think she's quite annoying. She's quite fake. We actually do have evidence of her cookery skill. I don't really know why, her previous Netflix show, which was a sort of, to call it a cookery show would be to dignify it with a level of culinary ambition which it did not possess. But she did, I guess, vaguely home-related things in her kitchen, and the cookery would be like, I am going to put some yogurt in a bowl and then sprinkle some pre-prepared flower petals over the yogurt. Yeah. And this seemed to be about as far as her cooking extended. So I think you're justified in your judgment of her. Also, I am a fellow fan of Masterchef Australia.
Are you really?
A cooking competition is inherently a ridiculous thing to do. Therefore, it must be, the only logical thing is to make it as absurd as possible. It's much better than the British version, in my view.
Well, two people have got in touch. Keith says, helpfully, she makes jam. And Kate gives praise to you, Charlotte. I love Charlotte's apologetic way of saying that Meghan Markle is annoying.
There we are. I'm sorry, Meghan, but you're annoying.